Hello friends, welcome to the Night Watchman channel. Today I'm going to tell you a terrifying and thrilling creepy horror story that will make you feel the chill of fear. If you enjoy my story, don't forget to like and subscribe so I can feel your love and support through your likes and subscriptions. I never planned to be on the road that late, but plans don't mean much when life starts to come apart at the seams. It was early October, the air turning cool, the kind of crispness that makes you think about starting over. I was 31, living out of a packed Toyota Camry, and trying to convince myself I wasn't running from anything. I told people I was just taking time off work, but the truth was I'd walked out. 6 years at a construction management firm in Tulsa, and one bad argument with my supervisor later, I was gone. No notice, no backup plan, just gone. I figured I'd drive for a few days, maybe crash at a friend's place down in Mississippi, clear my head. The first couple of days weren't bad. Podcasts, gas station food, the quiet of endless highway. But by the third night, fatigue started hitting me hard. The sun had dropped behind the trees somewhere past Little Rock, and the road had turned into a long, empty stretch of two-lane blacktop cutting through dense forest. My GPS lost signal miles ago, and my cell service was barely holding one bar. I muttered to myself, trying to stay awake. "You're fine, Noah. Just another hour. You can stop in Pine Hollow or wherever the hell's next." The headlights carved out tunnels of light ahead, revealing nothing but old mile markers and the occasional mailbox half swallowed by weeds. My eyelids burned. I slapped my cheek, rolled the window down, and let the cold air hit my face. It didn't help. When I saw a faded sign that read, "Hollow Creek Inn, Vacancy," I almost laughed with relief. The place sat just off the highway, its single-story row of rooms half hidden behind a rusted sign and a flickering open light. It looked old. Not creepy exactly, just forgotten. One working soda machine stood outside, buzzing like a dying fly. A neon strip over the front office window blinked between HO and CREEKI parked in front of the office. My hands were trembling a little from exhaustion as I stepped out. Inside, the air smelled like dust and stale cigarettes. A bell on the counter jingled when I walked in. Behind it, a man in his late 50s shuffled out from a back room. He wore a trucker hat, a faded denim jacket, and had that slow, deliberate way of moving like he'd been doing this too long. "Evening," he said, his voice low and gravelly. "Hey," I said. "Any chance you've got a room open?" He smirked. "You're in luck." "Ain't had much business this week." He reached for a ledger book instead of a computer. "Name?" "Noah Turner." He scribbled it down. "Where you headed?" "Oklahoma City," I said. "Just needed to crash for a few hours." "Long drive from here." "Yeah, feels longer." He slid a key across the counter. An actual metal key, not a card. "Room 6, $60. Cash preferred, but I'll take card if I gotta." I pulled out my debit card. He ran it through a tiny reader that looked older than me. "TV's hit or miss," he said, handing me the receipt. "Heat works if you jiggle the dial just right. Don't lock yourself out. That key's the only spare I got." He looked at me a second longer than felt normal. His eyes were bloodshot, tired but focused, like he was trying to memorize my face. "Got it," I said. "Thanks." Outside, the parking lot was silent, except for a cricket chorus somewhere near the trees. Room 6 was halfway down the row. The fluorescent light above the door buzzed faintly. Inside, it was fine. Dingy, but not disgusting. A double bed, floral comforter, wooden nightstand with a lamp that leaned slightly to the left. There was a faint smell of mildew mixed with lemon cleaner. I tossed my duffel bag on the chair, plugged in my phone, and sat down on the edge of the bed. My shoulders felt like they weighed 50 pounds each. I thought about calling someone. My sister, maybe. But the signal bars were gone again. "Tomorrow," I told myself. "I'll figure everything out tomorrow." I turned off the lamp. The hum of the light outside bled faintly through the curtains. Within minutes, I was out cold. A noise woke me. At first, I thought it was a dream, a soft, rhythmic tapping that threaded into whatever half-formed nightmare I'd been having. But when I opened my eyes, it was still there. Tap, tap, tap. I blinked, disoriented. The red digits of the clock read 2:37 a.m. My throat was dry. For a moment, I just lay there, trying to place the sound. It was coming from the window. Probably rain, I mumbled, though the air was still and dry. Tap, tap, tap. It was too steady, too deliberate. I sat up slowly, pulse beginning to pick up. The curtains were drawn shut, thick, dark blue fabric that reached the floor. Whatever was behind them was completely hidden. I swung my legs over the side of the bed and stood up. Every creak in the floor felt deafening. Tap, tap, tap. I cleared my throat. Hello? The tapping stopped. Silence. The air in the room felt heavier, suddenly, pressing in. I could hear the faint hum of the vending machine outside. After maybe a minute, I exhaled shakily. Jesus, man! You're just tired. I crawled back into bed, heart still racing. I told myself it was the wind, a loose branch, anything. Then came the knock. 3 dull thuds against the door. I shot upright. Who's there? No response. Just another slow set of knocks, heavier this time. Front desk? I asked, voice cracking a little. You need something? Nothing. I slipped off the bed, feet silent on the carpet, and crept toward the peephole. I hesitated before looking. My stomach was tight, chest pounding. When I looked through, all I saw was black. Not darkness, something covering the peephole. I stumbled back. Hey, what the hell do you want? I shouted, louder now. No answer, just breathing. I could hear it faintly through the door. Slow, heavy, too close. Then, silence. After a full minute, the footsteps started to move away, slow and uneven, until they faded completely. I stood frozen for a long time before finally locking the chain across the door. When I woke again, light was streaming through the curtains. My phone said 9:06 a.m. For a few seconds, I thought maybe I dreamed it. Then I saw the door frame, right near the latch. Splintered wood, fresh. The paint chipped off in long, thin gouges. My stomach dropped. I ran a finger along the marks. Someone had tried to pry it open. I grabbed my bag, threw everything inside, and yanked open the door. Outside, the cool morning air hit me like a slap. There were scratches on my car door, just below the handle. Deep metal on metal. Jesus Christ, I whispered. The parking lot was nearly empty. Only 2 other cars sat at the far end. I turned toward the office. The old man was standing outside, smoking. He watched me, the cigarette hanging from his lip. Everything all right? He called out. There's damage on my door, I said, voice unsteady, and on my room. Someone tried to break in last night. He squinted. You sure? I pointed. Look! Right there. He walked over, slow and calm, like this was nothing new. He looked at the marks for a few seconds, then shrugged. Could have been kids, he said. Got some local punks that hang around sometimes. Don't usually cause much trouble. Someone was knocking on my door at 2 in the morning, I said, and the peephole was covered. He didn't react, just took another drag of his cigarette. You leave your car unlocked? No. Well, you're lucky. Then I just stared at him. His expression was unreadable, bored even, like this was all routine. I got in my car without another word. As I started the engine, I glanced back. He was still standing there, smoke curling around him, eyes on me. When I pulled out of the lot, I didn't look back again. Hours later, somewhere near the Oklahoma border, I stopped at a rest area to get gas and a cup of coffee. The attendant, a woman in her 40s, noticed the scratches on my car door. Rough night, she joked. Yeah, I said quietly. Something like that. She tilted her head. Where'd you stop? Hollow Creek Inn. Off Highway 42, I think. Her face changed slightly. You sure? Yeah, why? She shook her head. That place closed 3 years ago. They had some kind of break-in, I think. Couple went missing. Sheriff boarded it up. I felt the bottom drop out of my stomach. No, it's open. There was an old guy running it. She frowned. Honey, that place hasn't had power since 2022. You sure you didn't stop at the truck lodge down the road? I didn't answer. Outside, the world suddenly felt too quiet. The scratches on the car door caught the sunlight, thin and silvery, like fresh wounds. For the rest of the drive, I couldn't shake the image of that old man's face, the cigarette smoke drifting through the morning air. The way he'd said, "You're lucky then," because maybe I was. Or maybe I just left before whoever was outside my door decided to finish what they started. Either way, I've never stopped at a roadside motel again. And sometimes late at night when I'm driving those empty highways, I swear I still see that flickering sign up ahead, Hollow Creek Inn, Vacancy, but I don't pull over. Not anymore. Story 2. I never thought much about the small roadside motels scattered across America's highways. You know the kind, peeling paint, buzzing neon signs promising low weekly rates, and tired clerks who barely look up when you walk in. To me, they were just temporary stops between destinations. A bed, a shower, and 6 hours of sleep before the road called again. Nothing more. But that changed one night that I can't forget, no matter how many miles I've driven since. My name's Ryan Mitchell, and I work as a regional sales rep for an industrial supply company out of Columbus, Ohio. Most weeks I'm on the road, Indiana, Illinois, down into Tennessee, living out of my car and a suitcase. It's not glamorous, but it pays the bills. My girlfriend Sarah used to joke that I'd end up knowing every backroad diner and motel clerk east of the Mississippi. That particular week, I'd been sent to a training seminar in Memphis, and I was driving back home late Friday night. It was early spring, the kind of night where fog rolls low over the highway and the air feels heavy, like a storm's coming. My GPS said I had about 5 hours left to Columbus, but I'd already been driving for 9. My eyelids burned, my neck ached, and my coffee had gone cold hours ago. So when I saw the faded sign for Redwood Inn, Vacancy, glowing faintly against the dark, I decided to call it a night. The place sat about half a mile off the interstate, surrounded by pine trees that looked black in the fog. A single flickering light above the office door cast a weak yellow glow over the parking lot. Half the rooms looked dark. A couple had lights on. I parked under a busted security lamp and stepped out. The air was damp, the smell of wet asphalt and pine hanging thick. My boots crunched over gravel as I walked into the lobby. Inside, the fluorescent lights buzzed softly. The room was small. Check-in desk, a couple of worn-out chairs, and a pot of coffee that smelled burnt. Behind the counter sat a woman in her late 20s, scrolling through her phone. Her name tag read Megan. "Evening," I said, rubbing the back of my neck. "Any chance you've got a room for the night?" She looked up, blinking like she'd just remembered she was at work. "Yeah, sure thing. Just you?" "Yeah, just me." "All right." She started typing into the computer, nails clacking on the keys. "Single bed? Non-smoking?" "That'll do." She printed out a receipt, slid it over, then handed me a key card. "Room 107. Checkouts at 11. Ice machine's busted, and breakfast is coffee and muffins. Don't expect much," I managed a tired smile. "I've had worse," she smirked faintly. "Ain't we all?" Room 107 was near the end of the building. The curtains were drawn tight, the carpet smelled faintly of mildew, and the bathroom mirror had a crack running through it. Still, the bed looked clean enough, and the hum of the old air conditioner filled the silence in a strangely comforting way. I kicked off my shoes, checked a few work emails, and turned on the TV. Static hissed through most of the channels until I found some late-night infomercial. My eyes started to close around 12:45 a.m. Then the phone rang. At first I thought it was my cell, but the sound was coming from the beige motel landline on the nightstand. I frowned. Nobody had that number. I picked it up. "Hello?" A man's voice answered, deep, flat. "Sir, you need to come down to the front desk." My brow furrowed. "Excuse me?" He repeated himself. "Come to the front desk." Now, before I could ask why, the line went dead. I sat there for a moment, the phone still pressed to my ear. Megan had been the only one at the desk when I checked in. This voice wasn't hers. I told myself it was probably some mix-up, maybe a late check-in, wrong room number. I threw on my hoodie and stepped outside. The night air was colder now. The fog had thickened, curling around the building like smoke. The office lights were still on, so I crossed the lot and pushed the door open. "Megan?" I called. No answer. The lobby was empty. The computer screen still glowed faintly. The coffee pot was half full, but no one was there. I stepped closer, leaning over the counter. "Hello? Anybody here?" Nothing. A shiver ran through me. I waited a few more seconds, then shook my head and muttered, "Screw it." I walked back to my room, locking the door behind me. 5 minutes later, the phone rang again. I stared at it, my pulse quickening. Against my better judgment, I answered. "What do you want?" The same voice came through, sharper this time. "You didn't come down." "I did," I snapped. There was no one there. A pause, then more forceful. "Come down." Now the line went dead again. I unplugged the phone from the wall. "Not tonight," I muttered, crawling back into bed. I just started to drift off when I heard it. 3 sharp knocks at the door. I froze. Another knock. Louder. "Who is it?" I called out. Silence. Then faint footsteps. Someone walking away down the walkway outside. I got up, heart pounding, and peered through the peephole. The walkway was empty except for the dim yellow glow of the overhead light. I opened the door just enough to glance both ways. Nothing. Only the sound of the crickets and the soft hum of the highway in the distance. I shut the door, locked it, and slid the chain across. My hands were trembling. Sleep was impossible after that. Every sound made me flinch. The hum of the AC, the creak of the walls, even the soft whir of the ceiling fan. When morning came, I packed my things and went straight to the front desk. Megan was there again, sipping coffee, scrolling through her phone. "Rough night?" she asked, noticing the bags under my eyes. "You could say that," I muttered. "Who else works here overnight?" She frowned. "Nobody. Just me." "Why?" I told her everything. The calls, the voice, the knocking. She stared at me for a moment, her expression unreadable. Then she said quietly, "You're not the first person to say that." My stomach turned. "What do you mean?" "Couple of months ago, some guy stayed here. Truck driver, I think. Said he got phone calls all night too. Same thing. A man's voice telling him to come to the front desk. We checked the logs. Nobody made any calls." I rubbed the back of my neck. "You think someone's messing with the rooms?" She hesitated. "Honestly, I don't know." "But you're in 107, right?" I nodded. She looked uneasy. "That room's had some history." I didn't ask then. I just checked out, tossed my bag in the car, and told myself I'd forget the whole thing. But curiosity's a funny thing. At the gas station a few blocks away, I started chatting with the attendant, an older guy named Dale. When I mentioned I'd stayed at the Redwood Inn, his eyebrows shot up. "Jesus," he muttered. "You stayed there?" "Yeah, why?" He lowered his voice. "You don't know what happened there?" I shook my head. He leaned closer. "Back in the 90s, that place was bad news. Owner was running girls through there. Young ones. Cops busted a trafficking ring, but one of the girls disappeared before they could take statements. They found her weeks later, strangled. Room 107. My throat went dry. "You're serious?" "Dead serious. They say the guy who ran the place killed her when she tried to escape. He hung himself before trial. Motel changed owners, but folks around here don't stay there unless they have to." I swallowed hard, feeling the weight settle in my chest. Dale's voice dropped even lower. "People still say they hear him." The owner. Late at night. Calls from the front desk. Always a man's voice. Telling you to come down. I didn't say another word. I just nodded, got in my car, and drove. I haven't stayed in a motel since. I'll sleep in my car at a rest stop, anywhere but there. And every time I see a flickering sign that says vacancy, I hear that same voice in my head. Flat, cold, and patient. Come down to the front desk. Story 3, I never used to think much about motels. To me, they were just those cheap roadside stops you saw between long stretches of highway, buzzing neon signs, stale coffee in the lobby, and the faint smell of cleaning supplies that couldn't quite hide the years of cigarette smoke. I was more of a hotel guy. Clean sheets, breakfast buffets, the kind of places where you didn't have to wonder what was behind the next door. But that changed last June. It was supposed to be a break, a short, quiet getaway from work and routine. My girlfriend Hannah had been running herself ragged as a pediatric nurse at a hospital in Asheville, North Carolina. And I'd been neck-deep in IT contracts, bouncing between client calls and late-night troubleshooting. We hadn't had more than a weekend together in months, So when I found a cheap coastal town in Georgia called Maple Bay, I booked it without thinking twice. Small town, decent beaches, and a motel that looked harmless enough online. The Driftwood Inn. Not bad for under 80 bucks a night, I told Hannah as we pulled into the cracked asphalt lot. She leaned forward in her seat, squinting at the faded blue sign. It's got character, she said, smirking. The place wasn't terrible, just old. 2 stories, an empty pool covered with leaves, and a soda machine that looked like it hadn't worked since the 90s. But the woman at the front desk, Marla, her name tag read, was kind. She handed us a room key, an actual metal key, not a card, a paper map of the town, and said, "If y'all need anything, I'm here all night." Room 212 smelled faintly like bleach and ocean air. The curtains were thin, the mattress squeaked, but the AC worked, and after hours on the road, that was enough. We dropped our bags, lay on the bed, and just stared at the ceiling fan spinning lazily. "This is perfect," Hannah said softly. "Just us. No pagers, no emails," I smiled. "Just sunshine and bad seafood." We laughed. For the first 2 days, that's exactly what it was. Long walks on the beach, greasy shrimp baskets, salt water in our hair, and the sound of waves outside our window. We felt normal again. Then came the 3rd night. We got back late after dinner, maybe close to 11 p.m. The motel lot was quiet except for a couple of truckers sitting on the tailgate of their pickup, drinking beers. I told Hannah to go up to the room while I grabbed something from the vending machine. By the time I got upstairs, the shower was running. I kicked off my shoes, flipped through channels, and half listened to the sound of water hitting tile. Then I heard her call out through the noise, "Hey, I'm running down to get some ice." "All right," I shouted back. "Want me to come?" "No, I'm good." The door clicked shut. I didn't think twice. Maybe 2 minutes later, the bathroom door opened again. Hannah stepped out, towel wrapped around her, hair dripping, face pale. She locked the deadbolt, slid the chain across, and pressed her back to the door like she was trying to hold something out. "What's wrong?" I asked, sitting up fast. She was breathing hard. "There's a guy down there, by the ice machine. He followed me." "What?" She swallowed hard. "He was just standing there when I walked in. Didn't say a word. Just staring. When I turned to leave, he followed me down the hallway. I didn't wait for the elevator. I took the stairs and he followed me down those too." I stood, adrenaline already kicking in. "What did he look like?" She thought for a moment. Mid-50s maybe, thin, gray goatee, old baseball cap, dirty clothes. He looked off. "Stay here," I said, already heading to the door. "Eli, don't—" But I was already out in the hall. The corridor was silent, the kind of silence that hums in your ears. The soda machine buzzed faintly near the stairwell. The carpet was damp, maybe from a leaky AC vent. I looked both ways, nothing. After a minute or two, I went back inside. "Nobody out there," I said. Hannah sat on the bed, arms crossed tight. "I swear he followed me." "I believe you," I said quickly. "Maybe he's just some drunk guy staying here." She nodded, but I could tell she didn't believe it. We double-locked the door and pushed the desk chair under the knob. That night, neither of us slept much. The morning light made everything seem less scary. We laughed about it over pancakes at a small diner down the street. "Maybe he just wanted ice too," I joked. "Or maybe," she said, pointing her fork at me, "he's some lonely guy who stares for sport." We both laughed, but only half-heartedly. When we stepped out of the diner, Hannah froze mid-step. She grabbed my arm. "Eli, that's him." I followed her gaze. Across the street near a lamppost stood a man. Baseball cap, goatee, thin, wiry frame. He wasn't looking directly at us, but there was something about the way his head tilted, like he wanted us to know he was aware. "You sure?" I whispered. Her grip tightened. "I'm sure." We walked away fast. By the time I glanced back, he was gone. I tried to brush it off. Small town. Coincidence. But later that afternoon, near the marina, I saw him again. He was maybe 20 feet away, half hidden behind a crowd, hands in his pockets, just watching. My chest went tight. Okay, I said under my breath. That's not random. Why is he following us? Hannah's voice cracked. Come on, I said, grabbing her hand. We'll lose him. We ducked into souvenir shops, weaved through alleys. Every time I thought we'd shaken him, I'd catch a glimpse of that cap again, that same tilt of the head. By sunset, I was exhausted, paranoid, angry. We decided to eat at a seafood place near the water. The restaurant was half empty, the smell of fried food heavy in the air. For a few minutes, we almost forgot. Then I looked out the window. He was there, across the street, still, staring. He's here again, I muttered. Hannah didn't turn at first. Then slowly she glanced and went pale. We didn't finish our food. We paid and left fast, half running back to the motel. It was almost 10 p.m. when we stepped into the lobby, and that's when I saw him again. He was sitting in a corner chair near the vending machine, head bowed, cap pulled low, one leg bouncing slightly. When the lobby door shut behind us, he turned his head just enough that I caught the gleam of his eyes. Hannah froze beside me. We walked to the elevator without saying a word. The doors slid shut just as he started to stand. On the second floor, Hannah peered through the peephole once we reached our room. He's here, she whispered. He's in the hallway. I looked, and sure enough, a shadow passed by the door, then stopped. That was it. I yanked the door open. He was right there, 10 feet away, staring straight at me. Hey, I shouted. What the hell is your problem? He didn't answer. You've been following us all day. What do you want? For a second, his face twitched, like something behind his eyes snapped. Then with one quick motion, he pulled something from his pocket. It sparked. A stun gun. I stumbled back, heart pounding. Don't! He lunged. The sound, the crack of electricity, hit inches from my chest. I bolted, yelling for Hannah to lock the door. My shoes slapped against the hallway as I tore down the stairs 2 at a time. Help! Somebody help! The clerk looked up from behind the counter, startled. Sir? There's a man upstairs. He tried to tase me. Her face went white. She grabbed the phone and started dialing. Minutes later, red and blue lights painted the front windows. The police searched the motel, room to room, floor to floor. But they didn't find him. Not in the hall, not in the parking lot, not anywhere. Marla swore she hadn't seen anyone matching the description check-in. The cameras? Broken. The officer took our statements, told us to leave town if we could. We packed that night, left before dawn. For weeks, I tried not to think about it. Then one morning, a month later, I got a text from Hannah, a news link. A man had been arrested in southern Alabama for attacking a couple at a roadside motel. Mid-50s, thin, gray goatee. When they showed his mugshot, I knew. It was him. Only this time, the couple hadn't made it out.